Welcome to KernTax's initial Conversations That Matter. I'm Michael Turnipseed, KernTax Executive Director. For over a year, we've been planning to roll out a video podcast in the fall of 2020 using the talents of Lisa Kirch and her students at the video production program at the Kern High School District, using state-of-the-art studios and a new career training center. Plans for a weekly video podcast featuring candid conversations with current civic leaders were crafted. Well, coronavirus has changed our entire world, so we felt it was time to get started a little bit earlier. So we're going to start with Zoom chat. KernTax hope you will find our upcoming conversations worthy of your time and provide you with some thoughts and insights that you previously didn't have. Our first guest is Ryan Alsop, County CAO since January of 17. As far as anyone knows, everyone named to the job of Kern County CAO has been a leader from when they're in the ranks of the top county executives, except Ryan. He was the first one from the outside. In this new direction, hiring an outsider came at a critical moment for the Board of Supervisors. The downturn in the oil and gas business in 2014 had stripped tens of millions of dollars from Kern County's property tax revenues and triggered a 4-year austerity program that cut $47 million from county operations. In that environment, the CAO has become more important than ever. The CAO's office has historically been responsible for building the county budget, coordinating county agendas, and handling general services like engineering, contracting, internet technology. It was basically the board's logistic arm. Well, that's changed. Supervisors have moved a number of other functions under the CAO in recent years, including the Board of Trade, Employer Training Resource, Parks and Recreation, and most importantly, the County Personnel Department that handles the county firing and hiring. Alsop is responsible for guiding his critical department and drafting general policies for the Board of Supervisors to consider. Most of the county's department heads still report directly to the 5-member Board of Supervisors. Ryan, thank you very much for being our initial guest on Conversations That Matter.
Happy to be here. That description of my job made it sound easy.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we talk a couple times a week, and it's certainly not easy. And just when you think you have it all figured out, things happen.
That's true. That's true.
Which is now
the name of the game.
Virus dominates the news. There are many people that are getting very edgy, especially the self-employed, small business owners, contract workers, and people who have become unemployed. Many are complaining that the public health department hasn't been reacting fast enough and providing with critical information. Please explain to me how the planning department, how the public health department works and with the rest of the county, the Board of Supervisors, your office, county council, and everybody who's involved in this coronavirus problem that we're talking about today at a county level.
Yeah, just try to make it simple for your viewers that public health department, the public health director is in charge of managing the response, the county's response to the crisis that is COVID-19. And really everybody else in their capacity, in their various jobs, certainly in the capacity that I have as the Chief Administrative Officer, we are working to help support the efforts of public health. And obviously it gets a little bit more complicated than that, but it's an all hands approach where we're supporting public health response. One thing to keep in mind, you had alluded to the criticism. I think that, no matter who you are, no matter what the situation you're in, you always have your critics, but to Matt Constantine and his staff, to their credit, public health manages a diverse workload. We have a whole slew of public health related issues in this county that I would characterize as critical. And so they do a lot of work. And during the coronavirus, during this pandemic, that work hasn't stopped. That work continues to exist. So they're having to do all of that critical work, serving the folks in our community, along with responding to what is certainly unprecedented in my lifetime, unprecedented in my time as a leader in county government. And I know Matt Constantine and all of his employees would tell you the same in their respective roles. So I think they've done a fairly good job under the circumstances. I don't have any complaints. I think that no matter who you are and what situation you're in, there's always room for improvement. That goes for me too in my job and the things that I do. There are always things that you can learn along the way and apply what you learn to what you do in the future. But by all accounts, at least from my perspective, I'm certainly pleased with the work that's been done by Matt and his team. They're following to the best of their ability the guidance by the state. They're doing their work, ensuring that we're maximizing the opportunities to keep people healthy in the community and safe during the pandemic, to provide guidance to local businesses during the pandemic who have questions, and to get data out. They've done a good job doing that. There have been calls for to break down the data, to get to get more specific with the data. I think that they have responded, but I think they're doing a great job, and I'm glad that I'm pleased to have the kind of director that we have here in Kern County, and I think the residents of Kern County should feel the same way.
It's certainly a very tough time in these challenging, it's a tough job in these challenging times. The board met this week. They rolled out a 4-point plan to start coming up with the direction and input to get the county rolling. Can you give us some insights into what that plan is going to entail?
Yeah, well, we're under incredible transition period here. Things are moving very quickly. Lots of different people are involved with this response to to COVID-19. The federal level, the state level, local government, certainly cities are in this game as well. And through with all of those different stakeholders, everybody has got different responsibilities, and it's rather complex. But right now we're in a transition from it seems to be managing the crisis and responding to it, making sure that we're prepared and will be prepared in a sustained way to continue to deal with transmission as it occurs in the community, but also the transition to reopening our economy and getting started with that. The Board of Supervisors, I don't think there's really anything more important to them than to begin getting businesses open, but they want to make sure we do it in a safe and responsible manner. The governor is calling all the shots here, Mike. At the end of the day, the county, no matter where you are in this state, whether you're a city or you're a county, where you're a charter or you're a general law, the governor's directives, the stay-at-home directives specifically, and the directives limiting certain business activities have the force of law in this state. And there is nothing that any local entity can do to usurp those directives and to undo those directives. And so we're making sure that we are working closely with the state. We're making sure that the state understands that we want to begin as a county in areas where we can to accelerate our opening in a safe and responsible manner. We're working with the state to do that, and we want to begin transitioning and making sure that we're opening as many businesses as possible, as safely as possible. The Board of Supervisors decision this week really, it was focused on making sure that the governor understood that. They sent a letter on Tuesday, signed by all 5 members of the board, asking for the greatest latitude for Kern County and transitioning back our economy, working through and with the state on their guidelines, but at the same time giving us the ability to accelerate through that timeline if possible. They also clarified that we have established an ad hoc committee of the board. It's made up of 2 members of the board That committee will be overseeing, obviously working with a handful of county staff, engaging with industry here in Kern County for a couple of reasons. One, to make sure that there is a continuity of communication and planning relative to the current state directives and what they're requiring of businesses, to make sure that all businesses are ready and prepared to make the transition once the governor rolls out and moves through these various stages that he will move through. We want to make sure we're ready to go and that they have a full understanding of the things that they will put in place to keep their employees and their customers safe once they do open. It's also a way to understand the needs and challenges of our local business communities across all industries. And where appropriate, the Board of Supervisors can consider additional policy, things that they can, actions that they can take to help accelerate the economy and getting those businesses back on their feet. So all of the decisions that they made Tuesday were focused around getting to a place where we can begin to open the economy while we are continuing to work with the state. Testing capacity is another issue that they addressed. We are probably here in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have at least 8 testing facilities online. All these 8 testing facilities will be free to the public. 4 of them came online this week. One of them happens to be a drive-through testing facility. Your viewers may have noticed Sean Penn, the actor, was here in Bakersfield and added some star power to the launch of the drive-through testing facility that was spearheaded by Supervisor Perez, which is up at the Prado Center up on Mount Vernon and Ridge. But these collectively, over the next 3 weeks, these testing facilities that will be free to the public and located throughout, well-placed throughout our 8,000 square mile county, so that we can maximize accessibility for folks, will increase by the hundreds the daily testing capacity that we have in the county. The end goal of this, obviously, is to run as many tests as we possibly can in a short period of time. As the governor has said, that is a key component, if not the most important component, to determine how quickly we get back to some sort of normality in our economy.
It's a big mountain. Obviously, you're concerned about the county's finances, and with the actions of the federal and state leaders, they pretty well shut down our nation's economy. And I think, as we discussed, you're kind of the bottom of the food chain when it comes to government. You receive a lot of your funding from state and federal places. The May revise is coming out next week. A recent Senate Finance Committee meeting, this finance department predicted state revenues would decline by $35 billion next year and $90 billion over the next 3 years. How do you plan to respond in the county's budget to this tsunami? Is it going to be 2014 all over again?
Yes, it is going to be for 2000. When I started here, we were in the midst of a fiscal crisis, trying to address a $44 million structural deficit. And as you know, we worked very hard across the county to pull ourselves out of that. We're projecting initially, at least for the next 2 fiscal years, a revenue deficit of between $40 and $50 million over the next 2 fiscal years. That's just in the general fund. Those are our projections. Those projections are based on a whole host of different indicators that we're looking at. This is not just COVID related, although the COVID response that we've had to COVID-19 is a major factor, specifically a major factor in the not necessarily this next fiscal year, but the subsequent fiscal years. But oil, as you know, oil has tanked. The price of oil is down around, I don't know what it is. I've stopped looking. I'm trying to maintain a sense of, I'm trying to, for mental health reasons, I'm trying not to pay attention because we're really worried about what the price of oil is in January, as you know, because that's when we set the price for our properties. But the price of oil is down around in the mid 20s. It's hovering between 20 and 30 somewhere. It's incredibly low. So that is a factor. Obviously, the May revise and the anticipated cuts that the state will make, those are going to have some sort of an effect on our revenues and certainly an effect on some of our departments that don't necessarily depend entirely on the general fund. A lot of these departments that we have get their revenue, their pass-through revenues from the federal and state governments. So we've looked at all of that and we've run our projections. Obviously, lots of things can change. It depends on what the economy does and how soon things may happen. In the economy, it depends on decisions that are coming out of the state with regard to assistance. Certainly, the federal government, who they're debating a pretty significant federal stimulus package for state and local government that would be specifically used to address revenue shortfall. Certainly that would change some things for us. And selfishly, obviously, I'm kind of hoping that happens. But that's being debated. So there are lots of decisions, lots of things, lots of unknowns that will go into our decision making. But right now, those are our projections. And yes, I mean the answer to your question is that we will be addressing and preparing for those and contemplating those realities in our regular budget process, which has started and will continue to proceed through the end of summer.
Back in 17, when you came, one of the first things you did was you created 3-year strategic goals for the county of Kern with the motto, culture drives great results. Let's talk a little bit about that plan's coming to an end, those goals, what you accomplished, what you didn't. What are some of your new goals for the future for the next 3 years? So let's start with culture and we'll have a little conversation about that.
Yeah, well, as I've always said, culture drives great results. I mean, that's a motto that we've tried to make sure that we are putting out, myself and our leadership team. The whole concept behind that is making sure that the county, no matter what business that you're operating in across the county, you are functioning as a team, and that your operations and your pursuit of goals and objectives and how you do that is critically important to the results that we achieve at the end of the day. Our 3-year strategic plan was a fairly simple strategic plan that was put into place as soon as I came on board. There wasn't a whole lot of, we didn't do the traditional government, charrette and, wide input. We put this in place. You can find it on our website because the situation required an immediate sort of pathway and plan. We kept it very simple. It was focused on, delivering high quality service. It was focused on becoming the very best that we could possibly be, being a leader in managing our business and our people. So that's the budget, and that's employee management. And then it was focused on fostering a culture of innovation. Boy, it's been 3 years and a lot of water under the bridge, but I think that the results have been, we have put a great deal of work into getting our budget squared away. We certainly have some issues that are remaining, but largely got that problem under control. We made some significant cuts. We've streamlined some things. We cut expenses. We pulled ourselves out of the fiscal emergency, and we were able to get that done. We've done a number of things with our employee groups during that time. We haven't been able to provide everything that our employees have wanted, but I think that there have been some considerable steps that have been taken to do what we have been able to do, or what we were able to do. I mean, obviously, we have been able to provide our sheriff's deputies with an increase in their salary, and making sure that our sheriff's department employees and the deputies there are being paid a competitive wage. Uh, there are tremendous recruitment and retention issues, as you know, in law enforcement, and that was a necessity. There have been other things that we've done. I don't want to go into too many details. Your viewers could get bored and lose us on it, but a number of other things that we've tried to put in place. Benefits. We provided a bonus for our largest employee group. We've done some other things there. Economic development, we've had, I think, tremendous success, whether it's the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino with up to 2,500 jobs, the Amazon facility, about 2,500 jobs. There are logistics centers, L'Oreal down in Tejon, a number of really fantastic sort of game-changing opportunities for Kern. These are all jobs that are outside of ag and oil. These are all jobs that are focused on our goal of diversifying our economy. And I think we had a great deal of wind at our back here coming into COVID, with some tremendous economic development effort. And we implemented our Advanced Kern initiative, providing businesses with an economic incentive for the first time ever. Here, we went through a branding process and got a regional brand in place, and did that in collaboration with other stakeholders. There are a number of things that I'm very proud of. A lot of things that would probably bore your listeners if I went into too much detail on. But we've come a long way, and it's unfortunate that we have run into the situation that we're in, because it has, while we have all sorts of work to do, we need to continue to do good work and to continue to focus on those goals and objectives. This COVID is sucking a lot of oxygen. It's a big energy taker, and we're going to be living with the consequences of this and this pandemic, the effects of it for quite a while. And we're going to have to find ways to not only deal with it, but continue down the path that we have been on these last 3 years. And that's going to be the trick. To talk, you had said that our goals and objectives are expiring. We provided them for 3 years. They're expiring. We actually were working on a new 5-year plan that was a little bit longer term, where we did some polling. We polled our workforce. We polled the general public. We polled various stakeholder groups in the community. We did a lot of front end work to get prepared for that, and then COVID hit. And I can tell you right now, the guy that I had working on that, because we're a pretty lean staff, I've got working on this accelerated business opening plan with the governor. So I've taken him off that and put him on something else. So we're doing what we can. We're working smart. There's no playbook. We're trying to make the best decisions as we can, and we will get back to working on that strategic plan going forward when we get some breathing room here.
Well, you certainly covered most of it. But there's something I wanted to ask you about how you personally work, because one of your goals, the last goal you really didn't talk much about, is how you foster a culture of innovation and change. All organizations have to be nimble and mean, because the world is changing, as we just seen in the last few months. How do you foster this culture among 8,000 employees?
Yeah, it's a good question. Well, it starts with me, right? It starts with everything I
starts with the
say.
board, then it starts with you. How's that?
Okay, yeah, right. It starts with the board, right? And the board has to
Hired
be. They got to continue to bang the drum and provide direction and leadership. And I need to make sure that I'm walking the walk and talking the talk. It starts with how I carry myself, the things that I say, the words that I choose, how I choose to speak to employees, how I choose to think about problems and challenges. I talk about pursuing optimism quite a bit. We have tremendous headwind here in Kern County on a whole variety of fronts. COVID is just the most recent. And, we can either come to work with our head down and go through the motions, or we can show up to work in pursuit of optimism with our head up, looking to the future, knowing that we can make a difference, that the work that we do matters, and that we have the ability here as a county to make real change, critical change that will affect the lives of people in this community for a long time to come. And it's not just the people that are going to work and paying the taxes, but it's their children. The children in this community that are coming up in the community. How do we make sure that this county provides them with the very best future that we can provide within our means? So that is that's how we're carrying ourselves. We do regular communications with our employees. We are pushing this concept down to our department head level and our behind them, our mid-level management level, and making sure that our employees know that they are part of this effort, that they're important to us, that their work matters, and at the end of the day, making sure we do a good job, not just engaging them this way, but also rewarding them and making sure that they understand that we value them and their talents. And it's finding ways to do that in the constraints of our limited capacity we have as a county budget-wise. So it's that all kind of goes into to fostering a culture of innovation.
Well, I want to thank you for taking time out of your obviously busy schedule to share some thoughts with us on your time today. Your candid comments and insights have shown really how you provide leadership during very challenging times. So I want to thank you for participating today.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it. Always a pleasure to talk to KernTax.
Thank you very much. To our audience, I want to thank you for watching our initial effort of Communications That Matter. KernTax hopes you found that our efforts to be worthwhile and beneficial. Please visit our website at kerntaxpayers.org. Contact us to leave your thoughts and comments. Our next guest will be Christian Clegg, Bakersfield's new city manager. Again, thank you for watching Communication That Matters. Have a good day.